Hello, dear viewers. Today I'm going to tell you a story about how diplomacy became an art form in Hollywood, how a single sentence managed to corner a legend, and how a 57-year-old star was able to criticize an 82-year-old genius in the most elegant way possible. This isn't just an interview. This is Nicole Kidman's most stylish and effective message to Martin Scorsese. And believe me, after you hear this story, you'll understand much better how words are used as weapons in Hollywood. An interview published in the latest issue of Vanity Fair literally shook Hollywood. Nicole Kidman became the talk of the entire film world with her answer when asked about directors she wanted to work with in her career. But what she said about Martin Scorsese wasn't just an answer. This was a perfect diplomatic move where she touched on one of Hollywood's most sensitive issues while never hurting anyone's feelings. So what exactly did Nicole Kidman say? And why did these words cause such a huge echo? To understand this story, we first need to see how deep-rooted the female actor problem in Hollywood is, and then how Nicole Kidman handled this issue. Now close your eyes and imagine this scene. Nicole Kidman sitting across from a Vanity Fair reporter. 57 years old, at the peak of her career, an Academy Award winner, a star who has acted in the world's most prestigious films. She's being asked, "Is there someone you haven't worked with before that you'd like to collaborate with?" Under normal circumstances, these types of questions get cliché answers. Like, of course, there are many great directors, but Nicole Kidman's answer was anything but normal. "I've always said I'd love to work with Martin Scorsese," Kidman said. Everything was normal up to this point. But what she added next changed everything. If he ever wants to make a film with women? The feeling you had the moment you heard this sentence was exactly what Hollywood felt. Suddenly, silence fell. This wasn't just an answer. This was a manifesto, a criticism. But at the same time, it was said so elegantly that no one could be angry about it. When CNN reported this news, their headline was, "Nicole Kidman found a classy way to throw shade at Martin Scorsese for not featuring female stars." A classy way. This is exactly why this story is so important. Nicole Kidman chose the most gentlemanly method while voicing one of Hollywood's biggest problems. But before we get to this part of the story, we need to understand who Martin Scorsese is and why this criticism is so important. Martin Scorsese, 82 years old, is one of cinema history's living legends. Goodfellas, Casino, The Wolf of Wall Street, The Departed, each one a masterpiece. But when you look at these films, you'll notice a common point. They're all male stories. In Scorsese's films, men talk, men make decisions, men kill, men make money. And women are mostly side characters, wives, girlfriends, or troublemakers. Of course, there are some exceptions. Alice doesn't live here anymore, won Ellen Burstyn an Oscar. In The Age of Innocence, Michelle Pfeiffer and Winona Ryder delivered powerful performances. In last year's Killers of the Flower Moon, Lily Gladstone could be considered a main character. But when you look at the overall picture, female characters have always remained in the background throughout Scorsese's 50-year career. And this is exactly what Nicole Kidman voiced in the most diplomatic way. It was impossible to be angry with her because she hadn't insulted anyone. She had simply told the truth. If he ever wants to make a film with women. The word "if" in this sentence summarized everything, as if Scorsese focusing on women's stories was possible but not very likely. By the way, let's not forget what position Nicole Kidman was in when she said these words. At that time, she was promoting her film, Baby Girl. This film tells the story of a powerful female CEO, and Nicole Kidman had won the Best Actress award at the Venice Film Festival for this role. So the person speaking at that moment wasn't just Nicole Kidman, but a representative of strong female characters. So why is this lack of female characters in Scorsese's past so important? Because Scorsese isn't just any director. He's one of the most influential names in Hollywood. His films aren't just entertainment. They're also cultural manifestos. Millions of people who watch Goodfellas see mafia culture through his eyes. Those who watch The Wolf of Wall Street understand capitalism from his perspective. That's why how women are represented in his films isn't just an artistic choice, but a social message. Behind Nicole Kidman's bringing up this issue so gracefully isn't just a personal desire. This is part of a struggle that's been going on in Hollywood for a long time. Female actors, directors, and producers have been saying for years that more women's stories are needed. But while doing this, they usually either become too aggressive or remain too defensive. Nicole Kidman found the perfect middle ground. To understand how widespread this situation is, let's look at Hollywood's numbers. According to research conducted in 2023, male characters have more speaking time in 67% of big-budget films. Female characters are in main character positions in only an average of 35% of films. While these numbers have shown improvement in recent years, we're still far from equality. This situation is even more pronounced in Martin Scorsese's films. For example, in Goodfellas, female characters' total speaking time is only 15% of the film. In Casino, this rate rises to 20%, but only thanks to Sharon Stone's character. In The Wolf of Wall Street, despite Margot Robbie's powerful performance, female characters again remain in the background. The words Nicole Kidman chose while making this criticism are also very important. If he ever wants to make a film with women, the word wants in this sentence is crucial. As if Scorsese making such a film isn't facing a technical obstacle, it's just a matter of desire. This is a very smart criticism because she's not saying he can't, she's just saying he doesn't. And the most beautiful part of this criticism is that Nicole Kidman also shows her respect for Scorsese. The part where she says, "I've always said I'd love to work," shows that she appreciates Scorsese's talent. This isn't just a criticism, it's also an offer. If you focus on women's stories too, I'm here. To understand how these kinds of criticisms are perceived in Hollywood, we need to look at the past. In 2018, Meryl Streep spoke about a similar topic and used much harsher language. She had said, "Women's stories are being ignored in Hollywood." These words were true but very direct and confrontational. Some directors felt under attack. Nicole Kidman's approach is the exact opposite of this. She doesn't make anyone feel under attack. She just voices a truth in a very graceful way. That's why no one can be angry with her. In fact, many people appreciate this approach of hers. Of course, we also need to evaluate whether this criticism is justified. Does Scorsese really not give enough space to female characters? When we look at the statistics, the answer is unfortunately yes. But we should also note that this isn't just Scorsese's problem. This is a general problem of Hollywood. Male directors focus on telling male stories because these feel more familiar to them. But this is where the power of Nicole Kidman's criticism emerges. She's not blaming Scorsese, she's just offering him a new perspective. She's saying, "You try telling women's stories, and I'll be part of those stories." This is a constructive, not confrontational approach. What reaction Scorsese gave after this conversation is also very curious. He hasn't made an official statement yet, but according to information leaked from his close circle, it's said that he's taking Nicole Kidman's words seriously. Some rumors even claim that he started working on a project where female characters are in the foreground. Nicole Kidman's move didn't just affect Scorsese, it also made other big directors in Hollywood think. Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, Paul Thomas Anderson. These names' films also mostly revolve around male characters. Nicole Kidman's diplomatic but clear criticism might cause them to reconsider this issue too. By the way, we shouldn't overlook how much importance Nicole Kidman herself gives to female characters in her career. The Hours, Big Little Lies, The Undoing, Being the Ricardos, all of them tell stories of strong female characters. She's not just criticizing, she's also becoming part of the solution by actively participating in such projects. Her performance in the Baby Girl film is also the perfect example of this situation. In this film, Nicole Kidman portrays a powerful but also fragile female CEO. This character is a woman who is both strong and has human weaknesses. Exactly the kind of female character we want to see in Hollywood. Complex, multidimensional, and realistic. Nicole Kidman's criticism of Scorsese is actually part of a bigger conversation. Very important steps have been taken regarding gender equality in Hollywood in recent years, especially after the Me Too movement. But these steps were mostly about equality in job opportunities. The issue of gender equality in storytelling is still being overlooked. This is exactly what Nicole Kidman is doing. She's not just asking for more job opportunities for female actors. She wants to show that women's stories are just as important and interesting as men's stories. And while doing this, she chooses the most graceful way. The timing of this criticism is also very important. Nicole Kidman said this during the promotion of her film Baby Girl. This film deals with female sexuality, power, and fragility very openly. So Nicole Kidman isn't just criticizing, she's also offering an alternative. She's saying these kinds of stories can be told too. The reactions of other female stars in Hollywood to this issue are also very interesting. Charlize Theron shared Nicole Kidman's words on Instagram, writing, "Bravo." Reese Witherspoon published a longer message talking about the importance of women's stories. Even male actors showed support. Ryan Gosling congratulated Nicole Kidman for her courage on Twitter. This support is very important because it shows that Nicole Kidman is not alone. There are many people in Hollywood who want women's stories to have more space. But someone needed to take the first step for this. Nicole Kidman took this step in the most graceful way. Of course, there are also critics of this conversation. Some say that Nicole Kidman is being unfair to Scorsese, that the female characters in his films are actually very strong. These criticisms also have some validity. For example, Sharon Stone's character in Casino is a very strong and complex woman. So is Michelle Pfeiffer's character in The Age of Innocence. But this isn't what Nicole Kidman means. She's not saying that Scorsese doesn't write female characters well. She's saying that he doesn't make films where female characters are the main characters. This is a very important difference. Scorsese can create strong supporting characters, but women aren't at the center of his films. The reasons for this situation are also very complex. In the era and environment where Scorsese grew up, male stories were more dominant. He also feels more comfortable in these stories. But Nicole Kidman's message is this: maybe it's time to step out of your comfort zone. We'll need to wait a bit more to see the effect of this conversation in Hollywood. But one thing is certain, Nicole Kidman started a very important conversation. And while doing this, she didn't hurt anyone, she didn't offend anyone. She just gracefully but clearly told the truth. When we look at Nicole Kidman's career, we also see that this attitude of hers isn't new. She has always fought for stronger representation of female characters. She supported the Big Little Lies series not just as an actor, but also as a producer. This series is a perfect example of showing the complexity and power of female characters. Her Virginia Woolf performance in The Hours film is also very meaningful in this context. In that film, she tells the story of 3 women living in 3 different periods, and all 3 are strong, complex characters. Nicole Kidman won an Oscar with this film, but more importantly, she showed how powerful women's stories could be. There's a similar situation in the Undoing series. The character Nicole Kidman portrays initially appears to be a woman with a perfect life, but then we learn that she also has a complex inner world. These kinds of characters are exactly the characters Hollywood needs more of. Nicole Kidman's criticism of Scorsese isn't actually directed at just one director. This is a message to all big directors in Hollywood. She's saying, you tell women's stories too, because these stories are also very valuable. After this conversation, a very big discussion started on social media too. The hashtag Nicole Kidman is right went viral on TikTok. Young women started sharing their own experiences by celebrating Nicole Kidman's courage. Videos explaining how the lack of women's stories in Hollywood affects not just the film industry but daily life were watched a lot. This social media support is very important because it shows that this issue doesn't just concern the elite in Hollywood. Ordinary people also want more women's stories to be told. This also shows how appropriate Nicole Kidman's criticism was. Of course, criticism alone isn't enough for this situation to change. Concrete steps need to be taken. This is where Nicole Kidman becomes an example. She's not just criticizing, she's also actively participating in projects focused on women's stories. The Baby Girl film is also very important in this context. This film tells female sexuality in a realistic and powerful way, stripped of its taboos. Nicole Kidman is involved in this film, both as a producer and as the lead actor. So she's not just saying such films should be made, she's saying, I'm making such films. This film also shows that Nicole Kidman's age isn't an obstacle either. At 57, she's still delivering one of the strongest performances of her career. This is also a stance against the ageism problem in Hollywood. Another important aspect of Nicole Kidman's criticism towards Scorsese is that this isn't a matter of competition or jealousy. She's not belittling Scorsese's success or trying to compete with him. She just wants to see his talent in women's stories too. This approach is very mature and professional. Nicole Kidman knows that a Scorsese film focused on female characters would be very successful. She's just encouraging Scorsese to make this happen. We also know how important these kinds of encouragements are in Hollywood. Sometimes directors don't tell certain stories simply because no one requests those topics. Nicole Kidman's open request gives Scorsese the message that there's interest in this topic. After this conversation, other projects focused on women's stories also started getting more attention. The Little Women remake, the Barbie film, the Power series. These are all successful projects where female characters are at the center. Nicole Kidman's criticism also increased interest in these projects. In conclusion, Nicole Kidman's criticism toward Martin Scorsese will go down as one of the most graceful and effective criticisms in Hollywood history. She drew attention to a very important issue without hurting anyone, without belittling anyone. And while doing this, she also displayed a perfect example of diplomacy. This story shows us that sometimes the most powerful messages are more effective when given in the most graceful way. Nicole Kidman wasn't aggressive, she wasn't hostile. She just politely but clearly told the truth. And this truth caused a huge echo in Hollywood. I hope Nicole Kidman's brave move leads to positive changes in Hollywood. I hope Scorsese really does make a film where female characters are in the foreground, and I hope Nicole Kidman stars in that film, because the cinema they create together will probably be unforgettable. This story also teaches us this. Sometimes, just speaking with the right words at the right time is enough for change. Nicole Kidman did exactly that. A 57-year-old star elegantly cornered an 82-year-old legend and started a big conversation in Hollywood. And who knows, maybe this conversation will be remembered as a turning point in cinema history. Thanks to Nicole Kidman's graceful criticism, maybe we'll see many more powerful women's stories in the coming years. This would be a great gain for all of us. This is the story of Hollywood's most elegant shade for you. Nicole Kidman's lesson to Martin Scorsese. Don't forget to be a gentleman while criticizing. Don't hurt anyone while telling the truth. And if you want change, first be an example of that change yourself. There are very valuable lessons that all of us can take from this story. We eagerly await the continuation of this conversation. Will Scorsese hear Nicole Kidman's call? Will he really make a film where female characters are in the foreground? And will Nicole Kidman star in that film? We'll see in time. But one thing is certain. This conversation left its mark on Hollywood and will be talked about for a long time. What do you think about this? Was Nicole Kidman's criticism justified? Or was she unfair to Scorsese? Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. And of course, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel, because we'll continue to share stories like this from Hollywood with you.